Are you ready for a real bummer of a technical analysis? Because I hate to break it to you, but this week is going to be more theta plays. Nobody really knows what's going to fucking happen at this point. There's so many weak signals as far as just technical analysis goes, and we've kind of priced in all the good news. We've worked our way through most of the bad news dealing with COVID. There does seem to be a little channel you can play, but other than that, nothing really makes sense here other than theta plays. And I know that's boring, but let's just get into the technical analysis. Starting off with the news, as is tradition, Moderna executives dumped $30 million worth of stock immediately after the run-up from announcing positive vaccine trials, thus sparking a lot of people thinking Moderna is really just a pump and dump scheme, and we're a lot farther away from the vaccine than we thought. If we look at the other news, there's really nothing new other than subtle hints of the trade war cycle starting again. If you guys remember trading during that period, it was great. Trump would talk shit about China. There'd be talks of a possible trade war. We'd sell off. And then once the media announced that there was going to be possible talks about ending the trade war or a new trade deal, you could buy back in and just play that cycle over and over and over again. Although it's probably not all that great for the U.S. economy and kind of makes him look bad as a president, it is pretty good for us as traders. And as of last Wednesday, the U.S. Senate has passed legislation that could prevent some Chinese companies from listing their shares on U.S. exchanges, which is probably good because the SEC has had a lot of trouble auditing these companies in the past, which has led to situations like Luckin Coffee. So I honestly, when trying to figure out what's going to happen this week, I've been having a lot of trouble just using TA. And we'll get into that in a minute, but we're really in very neutral territory when it comes to TA. It's hard to predict what's going to happen next. And I honestly don't think anything much of anything is going to happen this week. I'd be surprised if we saw a major run up or a run down. So just looking at I've been integrating squeeze metrics, DPI, and short interest into my technical analysis to try to come up with a better idea of what might happen before it does. Just trying to weight my decision toward rally or route one way or the other. And this is really all I could come up with this week. Looking at this, down here is our short interest. This blue line here is the DPI. We'll just get rid of the market price. We don't really need to see that right now. We'll get into that later. So counterintuitively, when short interest decreases, it's actually kind of bearish because most of the short interest in the market comes from the market makers shorting stock in order to sell and provide liquidity for traders. So when we see a lot of short interest, it's actually the market maker just selling stock short to provide that liquidity. You can see short interest was kind of maxed out about a month ago, which makes sense because we had that huge rally up, and it's just been declining ever since, which we'll get into later, but you can see that reflected in the current market price. DPI is just kind of channeling back and forth, so there's nothing really exciting going on there other than we can see that the recent trends are neutralizing. Starting off in the longer intervals, we can see that there is almost no momentum for us to trade on right now, which really sucks. This is a boring area to be a trader. The MACD has almost completely neutralized. Slight bullish signal, but as you can see, the fast moving average is not really breaking over top of the slowly moving average in any kind of dramatic way, which means that this could probably and is likely signal noise. So we're just seeing a very weak kind of bullish trend that's not really going anywhere but sideways. The KDJ is overbought, not crazy overbought, but pretty overbought. So we might see a good short entry here in a couple weeks, but it's going to be extremely hard to time, which is why I'm going for theta plays. I know it's boring, but it's really the only thing that makes sense here. Net volume is 440 million, and you can see the net volume has kind of constructed this little channel here where we have a big initial wave, smaller second wave, smaller third wave, and probably even smaller of a fourth wave. We have our significant resistances here at about 297 and 320, and our big supports here are this kind of upward channel support. We'll get into that on the daily. And then we have another pretty strong support at 280. And then our strongest support at around 268. And I don't think we're going to visit either one of the supports this week. Unfortunately, this pattern has just kind of converged, making it really difficult for traders. Now, if we get into the daily, we can see that we've just kind of had this bounce up and down channel building, and we just keep bouncing off this little upward triangle support, and then we crash into this 297 resistance, and then just kind of revisit this support. Now, if you wanted to, you could gamble that that's going to happen again, but the thing is about these channels is as soon as they establish themselves, a lot of times they just break out of the channel. What I'm expecting long term is to revisit somewhere down in the 287 range and then retest this resistance, and then eventually it's got to get away from this resistance one way or the other, but there's just not enough momentum to tell which way it's going to go quite yet. If I had to guess, I would say down, but like I said, it's so difficult to time. Buying a put here doesn't really make a sense. I'd rather do a credit spread just so I have time on my side. Now, going into the 1 hour. The 1 hour KDJ is pretty significantly overbought. So I'd say there's a good chance early Monday we kind of see a small market rout. That may set the trend for the entire day. So we might see another early weekend kind of rout between Monday and Tuesday, and then maybe in the week, later in the week, we see a reversal. Either way, I think early on this week I'm going to be betting down or making bearish bets with probably a credit spread. As far as where we stop out, we're probably going to use the average true range to set our credit spread. And then if the market gets anywhere near my credit spread, I'm probably just going to stop out of it. So if we go on the daily, we can see our average true range, or the average range of fluctuation without really defining a trend, is about $6.10. Our resistance is at 297. So we're really just adding 610 to 297 to get around 303.10. So we probably want to do our credit spread probably somewhere around, maybe we can do a 303 and a 310 credit spread, somewhere around there. And then, like I said, if the market gets around 303, that's going to be my stop out. I'm going to get out of that trade because the average true range is giving us how far the market can potentially fluctuate before we start calling it a trend. So if we get a upward fluctuation of more than 610, then we've already confirmed that we're probably on a mild bullish trend and we should get away from our credit spread as quick as we possibly can. So that's probably going to be the play for this week. As a final check, let's go to TradingView and check out our volume profile. We can see that we are right up between the 50% and 61.8% Fibonacci ranges. The 61% Fibonacci target was 293.93, and we're just over top of that right now. And looking at the volume profile, we're actually over top of a lot of the resistance I was skeptical about the market making it through to begin with. So the Federal Reserve pumping money into the market was very well timed. It definitely pushed us up through a lot of that market resistance. And the next target after that is 313. So I'm actually having second thoughts about this bearish play. This is probably been one of the most difficult technical analysis videos I have had to publish because we are right at a decision point, right at an accumulation area. It's really difficult to tell what's going to happen next. So I think before I make a final post about what my big swing play is going to be this week, I'm just going to have to look at what futures do, because I don't really feel comfortable going with a bearish play now that all this resistance has become support. And as you can see, there's less volume up here. And if you watched any of my old videos, you know volume is resistance, right? If there's less people excited to sell up here, then we'll just plow right through it. We'll rally right through it. I don't really see enough momentum to do that right now, but we're just going to have to look at futures to see. Any positive news could positive or negative news could catalyze us into either direction. So I'm just going to wait to publish this till I see futures, and I'll give you my final weekly play. So futures just opened. They initially opened about 0.25% down and have now rallied to the S&P being about 0.5% up. Wow, what a weak signal either way. I think I'm just going to have to go with the call credit spread play. I was hoping to see a little bit more red. I didn't get it. If the futures rally a lot more, if we see them up like 1%, 2%, something like that, I probably won't go with this play. There's still time to decide. I'll tweet out my final decision before, the end of the night, so you can make a more informed decision about what you want to do tomorrow when the market's actually open. But right now, the call credit spread is a go for me. Yeah, so not really feeling very confident about this play. I think it's really the only play I can make right now based on the technical analysis and the news and everything. But if you're looking for one of my plays to where I'm highly confident, this is not it. This feels like making a trade just for the sake of making a trade. Eventually you just got to put your money somewhere. But not super confident. Thanks for watching, though. I hope you learned something about TA. If you want to use any of the same charts I do, I use Webull. It's a really great broker. I've definitely enjoyed their platform so far. There's a referral link in the description down below. And that's it for me. Good luck. Make some money this week.